My name is Noelle Arden, and I'm 32 years old. The night it shifted, the restaurant smelled like citrus peel and butter. A violinist threaded something vintage through the air, and the candles made everyone's faces kinder than they really were. Tristan leaned over the table, blue blazer, brighter smile, and pulled up a slide deck on his phone as if he were unveiling a comet. "I wanted this to feel special," he said, nudging the screen so it faced me. Logo, Luma box, leafy green, clean font. Sustainable beauty, curated, subscription. I'd heard the pitch. The last 6 months had been Tristan's late-night whispers to the ceiling, sticky notes on his fridge, packages of sample tins and bamboo lids arriving like optimistic pigeons. I'd stayed in it with him, helped him spreadsheet break-evens, connected him to my friend in fulfillment, even proofed his website copy. Belief wasn't the problem. He swiped to a cost page, numbers stacked like orderly promises. "To launch properly," he said, "I need $50,000. My fork paused over a raviolo. "From?" "From you," he said, and smiled like a man proposing. "You'd be my angel investor, 20% equity. We make a real go of this." Something small and practical inside me sat up. "Tristan, I don't have 50K sitting in a drawer." "You make almost 6 figures," he said lightly. "Logistics queen." He loved to tease me about my job. Unglamorous, exacting, paid well because I could make chaos pick up its toys. And you're a saver. He wasn't wrong. $70,000 saved over 8 years. A house key I hadn't cut yet. A net I hoped I'd never fall into. I set down the fork. "That's my emergency fund and down payment. It's not a venture fund." His mouth pressed thin. "So you don't believe in me?" "I believe in you," I said, keeping my voice even. "I don't believe in emptying my future into a business that hasn't shipped a single box." He brightened like a coach with a whistle. "I've done the research. Suppliers lined up, marketing plan, fulfillment intro. Thanks to you." He squeezed my hand. "I just need capital." "Then get a small business loan, or pitch actual investors." "Banks want collateral. Investors want too much equity. You're my partner." His thumb traced my knuckles. "We're building a future." A violin trembled in the background. It was almost funny. "Are we?" I asked softly. "Because you're asking me to jeopardize mine." He pulled his hand back as if I'd burned him. "I can't believe you're being this selfish." I blinked. "Selfish? I've been grinding for months. You know how hard marketing pays me. You know what it means to me to get out." His voice rose, and the nearby tables noticed. "And you, with your safe job and your safe money, you won't even help when I'm this close." "Help is not the same as underwrite," I said. "Emotional support doesn't pay suppliers." The waiter stalled 2 steps from us, tray hovering like a satellite. Tristan stood abruptly, chair legs scraping. "I deserve better than this," he shouted, and the violin scuffed into silence. Heads turned. Candlelight made his anger look theatrical. I felt my face go calm in the way it does when a storm is coming, and you've already moved the lawn chairs. I put cash on the table for the bill. "You're right," I said. For a heartbeat, he looked victorious. Then I stood. "I won't empty my life for a business plan that won't be honest with me," I said. Not loud, just steady. "And I won't let you call that love." I walked out under a spray of cold air and streetlight. My phone buzzed before I reached my car. Texts unspooling into a rope. "We need to talk. You're overreacting. Why are you humiliating me? This is about us." I drove home and did the least dramatic thing I could think of. I washed my face, made tea, opened my laptop. Tristan had never revoked my access to the shared drive we'd used when I was still the helpful girlfriend tinkering with cells and formulas. Maybe he forgot. Maybe he wanted me to see. Either way, the folder opened like a stage curtain. Decks, sheets, a clean Investor V4 file, his dinner pitch, showing the 50K broken neatly across inventory, website, marketing, fulfillment. Then another, tucked a layer deeper, Luma box, actuals, /rough. I clicked. There it was, $15,000 earmarked not for product or freight or web dev, but consultant, Brixton Lowe, platinum blueprint. My eyes moved faster. A line of testimonials copy-pasted from a site with sunsets and serifed wisdom. A link to a quantum success PDF that promised I could be a millionaire if I learned to talk to my fear like a roommate. In notes, paid $5K deposit, need remaining $10K by end of month. The rest looked thinner than his dinner deck had claimed. Suppliers. Quotes requested. Deposit TBD. Website. Template playground. Marketing. Mock-ups in Canva. Dates pushed. Influencer list to finalize. The spine of certainty I'd expected to see was just a hanger with a nice blazer on it. I screenshotted, timestamped, saved PDFs to a folder named House Key because petty doesn't have to be loud. A notification slid onto my screen. Mallory, Tristan's best friend since college, a believer with ring light eyes. He's devastated. Great partners invest in each other. Just money. You can make more. I muted the thread. Another ping, a different tone. Instagram this time. Paige Renner had liked Tristan's earlier founder mindset reel and commented, "Proud of you," with the kind of heart that isn't read by accident. Paige, the ex, the muse from his I used to write songs era. The woman he'd sworn was history, then downgraded to we're still cool, then quietly kept around like a lucky coin. I filed the name with the receipts in my head. The kettle clicked off. I stared at my savings app, the number that used to make me feel safe and now felt like cash to be argued over. I imagined a house with sun on the floors and a door only my key opened. Then I imagined handing it to a man who'd spent 6 months telling me that belief is money and love is collateral. My phone vibrated again. Tristan, this time in alternating apologies and accusations. You didn't even hear the rest of the plan. We could be millionaires. You're stuck in fear. Noelle, please. I typed once. I won't be your investor, Tristan. Not now. Not under these terms. 3 dots. Then, wow. So you really don't believe in me? I set the phone down. Outside my window, the streetlight hummed, and a moth kept making the same bad decision against glass. I closed the drive, backed up my folder, and shut the laptop like a book at the end of a chapter. Somewhere in the city, a violin had found its melody again. Somewhere, Tristan was telling himself a story where I was the villain and he was the star who deserved better. Maybe he did deserve better. Better than a girlfriend who would ever let him build a business on her savings and a lie. I rinsed the mug, I brushed my teeth, I set my alarm. When the apartment went dark, something in me finally turned off too, the part that thought I had to prove love with receipts. Morning could bring whatever it wanted. Spreadsheet links, push notifications, the old ex with her neat little heart. I had what I needed, what the numbers said when nobody was looking, what my gut said when the music stopped. You're right, I'd told him. I still was. The next 48 hours were a carousel of persuasion dressed as care. First came the spreadsheet. Subject line, our future, runway scenario. Tristan had color-coded the cells, shaded the totals in optimistic green. The tabs read, best case, base case, safety net, and every path assumed a single, crucial fiction. That my savings were family money we'd already married. His formula tucked my salary beside his, then smoothed monthly payments across our income as if the word itself were legal tender. A note glowed in cell D42. Even if Lumabox fails, we can comfortably service a $50K personal loan in 24 months. The math worked like stage lighting, flattering from exactly one angle. Then the articles began to arrive. Links titled, Real Partners Take Risks Together, How to Invest in Your Person, The Cost of Playing It Safe. Buried between them was a glossy thread about a CEO whose wife bet the house on his dream. The comments were full of strangers applauding a woman who'd decided fear was worse than foreclosure. Mallory chimed in mid-morning, her texts breathless and punctuated. He hasn't slept. He's a mess. Great couples are venture teams. It's just money. You can make more, babe. I muted her and answered nothing, because anything I said would be taken as a negotiation. At 9 p.m., Tristan arrived in a blazer you wear when you want to be believed. I didn't buzz him in. He played his trump card, a gentle knock and a softened voice through the intercom. Noelle, please, 5 minutes. I stared at my own reflection in the entryway camera, the tired version of me that buys peace like it's on sale. Then I opened the door. He entered with a leather portfolio like it could bless the room. I've restructured, he said, dropping a bound presentation on my coffee table. It was printed on thick stock, the kind that wants to be taken seriously. Here's the deal. 40% equity, co-founder title, board seat, preferred distributions until you've recouped the 50. Slower ROI target, 24 months, not 12. You brought props, I said. That's called professionalism, he said, smiling like we were back at the restaurant and the violinist might return at any second. Noelle, look, I heard you. I'm addressing your concerns. You didn't touch the concern that matters. He blinked. Which is? I turned my laptop so he could see the folder labeled House Key. The screenshots fanned across the screen like evidence in a courtroom. The $15,000 you scheduled to pay Brixton Lowe. The guru with 2 bankruptcies and a motivational sunset problem. The suppliers lined up who actually just sent you quotes. The website that's a template playground. His face drained, then flushed, then settled into injured dignity. You went through my files? The shared drive you gave me access to, I said. The one I used to build your break-evens. That's a violation of trust. So is lying about what you're asking me to fund. It's not a lie. Brixton is integral. Mindset matters. He's guiding me past limiting beliefs. He's invoicing you for 12 Zoom calls and a PDF. He's changed lives. He's changed his life, I said, with other people's money. He paced, the portfolio forgotten, the performance cracking. You don't understand entrepreneurship. Sometimes you invest in yourself before anyone else will. With my money, I said. With our money, apparently, if I trust your spreadsheet. Tears appeared like a stage cue. I am drowning, okay? I already paid him $5,000 for the basic program. I maxed 2 cards. If I don't pay the rest, I lose everything I invested. How did you pay $5,000 when you bring home $45,000 a year? He looked at the wall. I borrowed against my 401k. I pressed my lips together so the words wouldn't come out in a scream. You quit compounding interest to compound a stranger's bank account. I had to, he said, voice cracking. This is my shot. And you. His eyes hardened. You're proving everyone right. You like safe. You like control. You like being the one who gets to say yes or no to whether someone else's dream breathes. I like truth, I said, and budgets that aren't fiction. He squared his shoulders, the pivot from pleading to power. Okay, last offer. Invest now or we're done. There it was, the ugly hinge most ultimatums swing on, the belief that love and leverage are the same thing. I folded the bound deck and slid it back into his hands. Then we're done. For a moment, he didn't know his line. Then he remembered it. You'll regret this, he said softly. When I'm worth 8 figures and you're still tracking pallets and trucks. I track deliveries, I said, opening the door. It's why I know when someone's selling me an empty box. He stood there in the hallway, small in the fisheye lens as the door moved between us. Check your email tomorrow, he said. My lawyer will be in touch. Bring him a sunset, I said, and closed it. I didn't sleep, not because I doubted myself, because my pulse had a drummer who didn't understand 3 a.m. I made tea, opened a private browser, and typed Brixton Lowe bankruptcy's complaint into the search bar. It took 7 minutes to find filings, 2 to verify public records, and 1 to understand that con men drift like fog into rooms where people need a lighthouse. Tristan had shown me those entrepreneurship Facebook groups a dozen times, rooms where dreams are currency and due diligence is considered negative energy. I created a throwaway account and posted screenshots of the bankruptcies and the complaint with a caption that wasn't about Tristan or even Brixton, not really. It was about patterns. Scam alert, do your research. I hit post and felt briefly like I had set down something heavy. Then I opened a fresh email, burner account again, subject line, Tessa, no. That was someone else's story. I tried again. Subject, client struggling to pay remainder. Mr. Lowe, I wrote, a friend of mine has borrowed from multiple sources to pay your program's deposit and can't secure the remaining $15,000. She's considering legal action to recover the initial $5,000. Thought you should know. Was it ethical? Questionable. Was it precise? No. Was it protective? That's what I told myself at 4:12 a.m., when the sky was navy, and even the moths had given up. I shut the laptop and let morning find me. It did at 8:03, in the form of a text from Tristan written like a flare. Did you email Brixton? What did you do? I hadn't even checked my own inbox yet. I opened it to a forward he'd sent me, maybe without realizing he had, maybe to prove a point that curled in on itself. From Brixton Lowe Support. The email was efficient as a receipt. Hi Tristan, given potential complications, we're canceling your enrollment and refunding your $5,000 deposit in full. Best of luck with your venture. Team Brixton. Below it, nothing but white space where his quantum blueprint used to live. I scrolled. 2 more emails stacked under it. Copies Tristan had forwarded without comment. Group admin, entrepreneur. Circle. We've received multiple reports about Brixton. We're compiling information for potential action. Another, from a woman I didn't know. I lost 20K to him last year. Thank you to whoever posted the thread. My phone rang. I let it. He called again. I let that one too. On the 3rd attempt, I answered and said nothing. You did this, Tristan hissed. The post, the email. He banned me. He refunded the 5. I needed his guidance. If you can't launch without a guru, I said, you can't launch. You ruined everything, he said. My reputation. In the groups? I asked, very calm. Where you bragged about investor meetings you didn't have? Silence, then a pivot. I quit my job for this, last week, to focus full-time. The room tilted. You what? Don't judge me, he snapped. And then quieter. You left me no choice. No, I said. You left me no choice when you made my savings the scaffolding for your fantasy. He tried one last script, sadness curdling toward sweetness. We could still work this out. I pictured the violin in the restaurant, the candles gilding strangers into saints. We just did, I said. Good luck. I hung up and put my phone face down on the table, like a card I was finished playing. The rest of the day unfolded like a stop-motion film. The entrepreneur post went mini-viral in that niche world. Victims found each other in the comments like people who recognized the same scar. The group admins pinned a warning thread. Mallory texted me a paragraph about betrayal and privacy, and you're hurting his brand. I typed, then deleted, then typed again. In the end, I sent nothing. Not every truth deserves an audience. Some just need a file folder and a judge who reads. By evening, the apartment was quiet enough to hear the hum in the refrigerator gasket. I turned off the kitchen light and stood in the doorway, letting the room blue itself with dusk. For months, Tristan had practiced a kind of magic, turning love into leverage, faith into funding, future into now. The spell had broken the way spells always do in stories, not with thunder, but with clarity. I didn't feel triumphant, I felt clean. My laptop screen glowed with the last email of the night. LinkedIn. Brixton Lowe viewed your profile. A minute later, a second notification. You can no longer view this profile. I smiled despite myself. Even fog has eyes. I shut the lid, slid the bound deck Tristan had left into a drawer, and put my teacup in the sink. Tomorrow would bring whatever came next. Spin, lawyering, Page with her soft focus captions, like weather you prepare for and then drive through. Tonight, it was enough that the word ours was back where it belonged. Tristan didn't disappear. He never did. By Friday, he was reinventing himself online. A LinkedIn post, his photo filtered crisp, chin tilted like a visionary, captioned, "Toxic partners are afraid of greatness. I choose courage over control." The comments section was his audience of choice, but even there, cracks showed. One reply read, "Didn't your girlfriend fund your rent for a year?" Another, "Bro, you quit your job without revenue. That's not courage, it's reckless." He deleted the post by nightfall, but not before I'd screenshotted it. Another file for the folder. 2 days later, my work phone buzzed with a call from security. "Ms. Arden, there's a Tristan Hale in the lobby asking for you." I closed my laptop. "Tell him I'm in meetings all day. Escort him out." From my office window, I watched him pacing, a man rehearsing arguments for an audience that would never arrive. His portfolio was gone. He carried nothing but the same tired plea in his stance. Then came the GoFundMe. Headline, "Help a visionary founder build his dream." Goal, $50,000. Photo, Tristan in that blue blazer, arms crossed in a co-working space he'd probably rented for the hour. By the second day, it had raised $230, most of it from Mallory's aunt and a few pity donations. I shouldn't have laughed, but I did. A sound somewhere between relief and disbelief. The next stunt was uglier. Mallory texted me, frantic. "Tristan asked me to flirt with you. He wanted proof you'd cheat so he could spin it." I stared at the screen until the words blurred. Then, "Thank you for telling me. Protect yourself. He's desperate." She replied, "I'm done. He's using everyone." That night, I sat on Callie's couch while she made popcorn, the kind drenched in butter no health guru would approve of. "This isn't about money anymore," she said. "It's about narrative. He can't stand that you ended it on your terms." She was right. Tristan didn't want reconciliation. He wanted control of the story. And then Paige. It started with a tagged photo at a rooftop bar. Tristan's hand visible at the edge of the frame, her smile angled, coy. Caption: Good ideas never really die. Neither do good people. Next, a dinner shot. 2 glasses, red wine catching candlelight. Her comment: Back where we belong. I scrolled through, pulse steady. The Vegas receipts, the silk dress, the bracelet. It all slotted into place like a lock clicking shut. Paige Renner, the ex-girlfriend who had always lingered just off stage, who liked his hustle, who resurfaced whenever his ego needed a mirror. Now she wasn't in the wings. She was center frame. Meanwhile, the entrepreneur groups were buzzing. My anonymous post about Brixton Low had detonated wider than I expected. Threads spun with survivors comparing losses. 5K here, 20K there. One woman claimed she was starting a class action. Screenshots circulated with my caption, #scam alert, #do your research. Tristan's name wasn't in them, but everyone knew. He texted once more, midnight on a Tuesday. You've ruined my reputation. You'll regret this when I rise bigger than ever. I typed a reply I never sent. The only thing you've built is evidence. Instead, I put the phone face down and let the quiet hold me. In stories like this, there's always a moment when the villain realizes the play is over. But Tristan wasn't a villain. He was a man who mistook other people's devotion for renewable energy. And Paige? She was back at his side, willing to supply the belief I'd stopped giving. I closed Instagram and exhaled. This wasn't my spin cycle anymore. The email arrived on a Thursday morning. Subject line: Notice of intent. Tristan had found a lawyer, or at least someone with letterhead. The demand was almost operatic. $50,000 for breach of an implied financial contract and for intentional infliction of emotional distress. I laughed once, sharp. Then I forwarded it to my cousin Eric, who actually practices law. His reply came 20 minutes later. This is the most ridiculous thing I've read all week. Don't worry, I'll draft the response. Eric's letter was merciless. Point 1, no contract existed. Point 2, Tristan's own communications showed deception about funds. Point 3, my documentation of Brixton Low's scam was unimpeachable. Point 4, any further legal contact would be treated as harassment. Silence followed. No more letters. Just the faint hiss of Tristan's campaign running out of fuel. By then, word had filtered through Mallory. Tristan had quit his job the week of the restaurant blow-up, convinced his empire was imminent. With Brixton's refund and the groups buzzing about lawsuits, his empire now consisted of a GoFundMe with less than $300. And Paige. For a month, she was everywhere. Tagged posts, late-night captions, rooftop dinners. But then her fiancé, yes, fiancé, discovered the affair. Screenshots circulated. A spa photo Tristan had posted became evidence in another implosion. Paige went quiet, then vanished from his feed. Ghosted. It hit me then. Tristan had always had 2 kinds of fuel, my money and someone else's admiration. Now he had neither. Meanwhile, my life felt like it had been returned to me. Without Tristan's weight, my savings grew. $5,000 in a month. The number startled me when I logged in, a reminder of what had always been possible if I hadn't been subsidizing someone else's gamble. At work, I had room to breathe, to lead. Colleagues noticed. Promotions whispered in corners that once felt closed. And outside of work, Ethan, the teacher from my cycling group. He split every bill, laughed like the world wasn't ending, thought my boring job was fascinating. The only thing he ever asked me to fund was pizza on Fridays. It was startling how refreshing normal felt. The last ripple came on a Tuesday evening. A LinkedIn notification. Brixton Low viewed your profile. A minute later, another. You can no longer view this profile. Blocked. I closed my laptop with a smile. Even con men need someone to blame. If that was me, so be it. 2 months after that restaurant blow-up, I stood in my kitchen, the light warm on the countertops I'd chosen, my bank app open on the screen. The numbers glowed steady. Mine. Tristan once told me I deserve better than this. He was right, but it wasn't him. It was me.